Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meaghan Chitwood Live, powered by BNI. And today I am so excited about the guest that we have, Hal Craig. We are going to talk about how restaurants are working these days. It's going to be hugely educational for everyone involved, including me. It's been a great conversation that he and I have been having about this. And then also we're going to talk about how restaurants can really benefit from BNI, especially during this challenging time. So with that, let's get started. As you know, you can catch us every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and then you can catch the replays on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. So now, welcome, Hal. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I am so excited. So first, let's talk about your background, because you have you didn't just start out with restaurants. You actually have like real interest in supply chain and things like that. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the restaurant industry.
Okay. So my background was, I went to school for, logistics. My degree is actually in international supply chain management, which really has nothing to do with restaurants. Well, I guess it could, but.
Oh yeah, it totally does when it comes to this topic. For
yes.
Sure.
And so I, for the first, 7 years after graduating, that's what I did. I worked in distribution centers, and I worked, with one company, we had to travel around just finding out kinks in the supply chain, what was going on with issues, and all that fun stuff. And then, and I really liked it. It was good money. And then we, I guess I have this heart of an entrepreneur. I just want to work for myself, or, always had that in me. And we decided there was a need. There was a restaurant concept that we thought would do well in Birmingham. It was a franchise. They weren't franchising yet, so we asked the owner of the business that was down in Auburn. It was called Mama Goldberg's, and asked if he would let us franchise it, and he didn't want to, but we finally convinced him. And so we opened up one here, and it was more of a supply and demand. There wasn't one in Birmingham, but there was a lot of people from Birmingham that went to Auburn, and even people from Alabama are familiar with the brand. So that's how I got into the restaurant business, was just, hey, I thought it would be a good idea to make some money with that. And then it's kind of been ever since. We went from that, and I started having kids and realizing that it wasn't the right industry. So I sold it to my partners, and then started selling groceries to restaurants as a salesperson for Cisco. And I became a restaurant consultant, being able to help restaurants, figure out food cost, menu design, things like that. And then we ended up, one of my customers had a place in Homewood, and they were ready to get out of the business. And so they were like, you can just, if you want to work out something with us, we can transition that into your spot. So that's what we did. And here we are now with Tostadas.
Love it. So you were in the middle of Homewood in Birmingham, in the greater Birmingham area as well. Now, okay, so this is where things get like super interesting, and you've got an awesome message for all of us around restaurants and these times, because the restaurant industry changed a lot in 2020. How did you transition? How did you innovate to get through like the last 18 months?
Well, I mean, it's still a process. I mean, everything is back, going back to supply chain, everything is backlogged. So we're seeing effects of stuff now from 2020. Like I was telling you, I went and picked up our liquor order for the bar, and, Patron is a very popular tequila that most Mexican restaurants have on hand all the time, because people like that. You can't get it. There's none there. It was out of stock. The second most popular one we have, Casamigos, out of stock. And that just goes back to, supply chain issues with, people. They're not having the people to help manufacture it. They're not having truck drivers to be able to distribute it. So to answer your question, we're still trying to figure out what to do and how to pivot. But, we've had to, really just kind of, just streamline, I guess, everything, very watch cost, we're cutting down our menu to get out of things that, that are hard to get and not get access to, and then try to figure out ways to market, and get the word out there that we have a place, we're safe, and you can still come eat.
Yeah. So right after we did our prep for the show, I went to a restaurant and they said, yeah, we don't do entree salads. They're on the menu, but we're not doing entree salads anymore. And I didn't get into it, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, this is exactly what you and I were talking about, which is just, you don't have access. So not only is labor, which I think all of us know from in the small business world, we're hearing, all about labor being a challenge, but also you've got that compounding from the supply chain of your actual products as well.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see what restaurant you went to and who they bought from, because yesterday, again, I work for Cisco, so I still keep in touch with a lot of them, and Cisco's the world's largest food distributor. I mean, they distribute food to most restaurants. And yesterday, they had 20 plus people over the last 2 days come down with COVID in the warehouse. So they have no warehouse workers. So they basically told us, hey, we can't send you groceries. We can't send you food. And maybe Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, but there's nothing we can do. So it's almost comical, because I'm thinking there's some restaurants out there that, if they buy only from Cisco, I'm like, what are they doing? So that restaurant may have bought their lettuce. They may not have salad, till Wednesday, because they may not be able to get it.
Yeah. And then the cost of things are going up as well, which I experienced in a small microcosm, going and buying things in bulk, but the same thing, cost is going up for restaurants everywhere also.
Oh, absolutely. Like, just as an example, I did a social media post for awareness a while ago, and it just kind of shocked people what people are seeing. But like, if you're not aware, then you don't know. So like, most restaurants have a fryer, if you're getting French fries, or if you're getting, fried shrimp or a lot of restaurants have fryers. And so, not in terms of just food, but the fryer oil, if you don't change your oil out, then that's when you go to a restaurant, it kind of tastes burnt, or you can tell that, hey, those French fries weren't really good. And so that fryer oil for a jug takes 3 jugs to switch it out. It used to be $14 a jug. So was that, $45-ish to change your oil out once a week, twice a week. Those jugs are now $45 a piece. So what is that, 3 times more expensive? And so what restaurants are having to face is, do I change the oil out less, or do I just eat the cost and have to buy oil? And, so is the quality of the food going to suffer, or do my bank account going to suffer? So like oil, shrimp, for a case of shrimp, it was $50 3 months ago. Now it's sitting right at $80. So I don't know, the food cost part is, you're seeing it too. I mean, don't even start about chicken. You're not going to be able to find chicken, because again, the supply chain stuff, like I said, Chick-fil-A up in Huntsville stopped serving breakfast, in some locations, just because they can't get it.
Yeah. So basically the moral of the story is hug a restaurateur, because you're going through, it's almost like you've had to innovate like constantly since March of last year, I would guess.
Yeah. And then, like you said, then you're still dealing with and that's a whole nother topic we can get into discussion with like, salaries and minimum wage. But, the restaurant model, for the most part, full service model has been, and whether it's right or wrong, I'm not, that's not for today, but, it's, you have kitchen staff that you pay a fair wage to, $15-16 an hour. Then you have your servers front of the house, and they work off tips. And again, there's arguments whether we need to change that or whatnot, but but now, because of the supply and demand of labor, it's not as simple as that anymore. You're seeing some people come in going, hey, I'll work, but I need $20 an hour. And, it's like, I would love to pay that, because I know they probably do need it, but restaurants don't have the margins to afford that. So it's, a restaurant's margin 6 to 11%, and it's just not, that's not how the model is until the model changes.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the food at Tostadas, because it is amazing. I've been there. It's an awesome place to have one-to-ones if you're in Birmingham and you're meeting with clients or whatever. It is an absolutely. How have you kept the concept going since you took it over?
Well, we didn't take Tostadas over. This was a place called Jackson's, and so we kind of made up Tostadas.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought you took just the same concept and went with it. Okay, well, tell us what happened.
This was a bar and bistro, and we just kind of made it up, Tostadas. And we did it because, again, supply and demand need. There wasn't a Mexican restaurant anywhere around this downtown Homewood area, so it's like, well, let's put a Mexican restaurant. And then I didn't want to have to compete with all the super authentic Mexican restaurants in Birmingham, because there are very good Mexican restaurants in Birmingham. So my idea was, let's have some of the fundamental Mexican food, quesadillas, chimichangas, burritos, things like that. But then let's have some things that you can't get anywhere else, like our Mexican pizza. Think like Taco Bell's used to be before they shut it down, but like with real food, better, bigger. We have a honey jalapeno chicken taco that people love. We have, a Southern stack, which is like pimento cheese, Wickle pickles from Dadeville, and Conecuh sausage from Conecuh County. So it's like Alabama tostada, and people love that one. It's so unique and good. So we try to get 8 or 9 different items on the menu that you cannot find anywhere else. So if we do those right, and the atmosphere is okay and the service is good, then people will come back because they want those items.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were thinking bigger in this, because you were talking about expansion and things like that as well with this concept.
Yeah. So, like I said, restaurant margins 6 to 11%. So there's not a lot of money having one restaurant, unless you're just a massive, fine dining, and even then it's still kind of iffy. So with these kind of concepts, the way to make a living, and I've got 3 daughters, so I really do need to, need to do well, but you've got to, it's volume. And so volume, you can either do all through one store, which there's a certain limit which you can do there, or you can open up multiple locations. So we built the brand to be able to open up more as we learn how, we've got the branding right and we're getting the food right. Then we just have to figure out the logistics of, and is this the time to open up restaurants? It blows my mind away. There's people opening up restaurants every day, and I'm like, did they not see what they're about to walk into? But hey, I don't know if they know or if they don't care, if they have a lot of cash, but no.
Yeah, very interesting. So restaurants are I'm going to say in the last 5 years, we've had restaurants really come in and join B&I. So let's talk about, because you've been in B&I for several years back to Mama Goldberg's, because we actually met about Mama Goldberg's when you were an owner there. So talk about your B&I journey and what that looked like.
Well, I mean, I'll go quick. It's a fun journey. So when we had the Mama Goldbergs, I remember getting a call, and someone was like, hey, can we have a group there? I'm like, okay, sure. And I'm like, what time and what do you guys want to eat? He's like, well, we need to be there about 6:45, where our meeting starts at 7. And I said, okay, are you guys wanting breakfast? He's like, no, we're not going to order anything. We may need some coffee. I'm like, so hold on, you want me to go in 3 hours early, open up this place, and you're not buying anything? I don't, what's the catch? He's like, well, it's a group called B&I. I'm like, well, what is B&I? And he explained to me, it's a, networking, it's givers, paying, referral. I'm like, oh man, that sounds like a really cool concept. So I said, well, I don't know if I can do that. I don't have the labor for it right now, but I'll call you back. So I hung up the phone and I called my buddy Justin Hardy with Switch. And I said, well, at that time, his company was called Birmingham Home Theater. And I was like, Justin, you need this B&I thing I just heard about. This would be amazing for your business, because he was still trying to grow his business. And he's like, man, I'm already a member. I'm a group called Magic City B&I. It's like, we meet on Wednesdays or Thursday, I forget. And I was like, he's like, come visit this week. I'm like, okay. So then I went and visited his group and just fell in love with it. And then I joined it. And I've been, in a sense, that group then changed names. That's a whole nother story, but we changed names. It's now Phoenix. And we were in that group. And then I had to leave when I took the sales job with Cisco, because it really wasn't a fit for selling groceries. And then I when we opened this place up, they said, hey, we're meeting at 7:30 now, which allowed me to take my kids to school and still be here. So I'm like, I'm back in. So I think I've been in for,
Yeah.
In this time with Tostadas, 2 years now again. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
probably
love it. And I love when people
12
come
years
back.
total.
They're always
Yeah.
welcome back, no matter what. I love it. Love it when people come back. So how has it worked for a restaurant and catering?
B&I.
Right?
Oh, it's
Yes. How's
fantastic.
B&I
So
working?
like I get frustrated when I meet other restaurant owners and I tell them about it. They're like, oh, I don't need it, or I'm like, it's not. I'm like, again, because margins are so low, like you need everything you can get. Like, and so with B&I, it's such, it's so awesome because of a couple reasons. One, like you said, they're going to have their one-to-ones probably at the restaurant. Two, like we've noticed when people do their prize at the end of the meeting, hey, I need a gift card and a book, hey, gift it for the size. But, and then that, we haven't even gotten into the socials. Hey, let's have a social for B&I and just everybody meet there for food, whatever. Lunches, everybody's meet for lunch. But then that doesn't even count the catering you get. Hey, my friend's a pharmaceutical rep, and when we ask for catering, or hey, I need this, catering has been great, and that's just extra. I mean, but we've made our investment back from B&I just from one-to-ones, lunches, and whatnot. The catering has all been bonus.
So
And if
I'm
you
a
join
big. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I don't know if you guys are still doing those because we actually did one for a little bit. If you had lunch B&I, one of the lunch groups, I know it may be hard for you to get away during lunch, but that's even better because you can meet, at the restaurant, or you can cater every meal because they usually get it catered or they're meeting somewhere. And I was helping with a group in, I think it was Swamp Monster Barbecue. We had them in B&I, and he got to cater every single lunch we did. And I was like, it paid for itself in the first month.
Absolutely. So, and the other one, I love making things easier for B&I members, right? So a lot of times people are saying, I've got to, I got to get a referral this week. Well, a referral to a restaurant is actually it's very simple, right? It's take a customer there, take your family out to eat, all those kinds of things, which is not what we normally do. But if you're just struggling to get one, like it's a very simple referral pass.
Oh, and I'm super excited now because I don't know if this is a new feature, but we got trained yesterday in our group about this new thing on the app. Let me see if I can pull it up here to show you. You already know about it because you probably already made it up. But I love it because one of the problems I've always had was if somebody from another B&I group watches this and they're like, hey, I want to go give a referral a house. So they come eat. Well, I don't know them necessarily, so I don't know and how to put in closed business or thank you. So in this app, I just go into my referrals and just click this, and it's got an update. So it's hey, I got the business, and I'm like, I put thank you, and immediately it lets me go to thank you for closed business, then where I can keep up, and it keeps track of it. And I found that out yesterday, and I'm like, I love that.
So the other thing for restaurants, if you are giving referrals to restaurants and you're in B&I, super easy thing to do, which we don't love putting in referrals for every single time you visit, but for restaurants you really need to, because Hal is not always going to be there when you go. So when you are there, if you just put in a referral and in the comments make a comment, this is how much I spent there, right? This is what you should be thanking me for. That pops up on Hal's screen, and then what he just showed, he gets to click, got the business, and he can just type in the amount from what you did there. So it's super, because I remember talking to a fellow executive director and saying, like, I don't know, how do restaurants keep up? Do you put a business card? No. Just put in a referral with the amount in the comments section. I was like, oh, that's easy enough. So it makes it very, very simple. The other thing too is the fact that cross-chapter referrals happen very easily in our region as well. So if it is another B&I chapter that wants to come and have one-to-ones there as well, then of course that counts, the greater region. So if you happen to be in Homewood, do that also.
Yeah, so and like restaurants. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say restaurants are good. If you're not recruiting restaurants for your group, you need to, because again, restaurants, payroll, They have to have payroll and, and security, cameras, TVs, cleaning services, fill in the blank. You find a restaurant that joins your group, you're getting a great, referral partner.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to say this too, back to the beginning of what we talked about as well. The other thing that I think is great for you during this time also is just to have some friends around you that can just like lift you up when it's like, oh my God, I got another gut punch because this happened or that happened. And having that group of people around you that understand just a little bit of what you're going through also, I think is really helpful in just building your morale.
Well, and that's really, I'm glad you said that. That's really the whole reason I rejoined. And the reason what I fell in love with it the first time was not, yes, the referrals are great. Money going into your bank account is always good. But you're right, having, in sales, usually sales is lonely because you're out there driving, hitting the roads, or owning a business is lonely because there's no one really you can talk to about, hey, or vent to. And so having that one time a week or, more when you have one-to-ones where, it's a positive hour and a half where people are encouraging you and going like, hey, can I help you out? What can I do for this? It's like when I went back to that first meeting at, 2 years ago, and I saw that encouragement, I saw the training, the mentorship, and I was like, that's where it was at. That's what I needed. So that you're absolutely right. It's a time where you get to just socialize and get uplifted.
Yeah. A person in another region, she's telling me this, so that I can't take credit. I wish I could, but I'm going to use it forever going forward. She said, we exercise in community, right? A lot of times, the best exercise programs are in community. We worship in community, right? Most of the time, we do something spiritual within community as well. Why are we not like drawn to doing business in community also? And I think that's like the best way for it to be explained, I think, is that we there is no reason why we shouldn't be doing business in community as well, and that's what we're up to.
Yeah. I think people are scared sometimes, or they're prideful and they don't want to share numbers or whatnot. But again, when you go with the model of givers gain, hey, how can I help you? Don't worry about what me. It just, you're right. That community in the business does work. That's why I think B&I works.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are also always trying to get better and better as a business owner. So what are some of the tips that you have learned, or one tip that you have learned as a business owner lately that you thought, wow, this was really eye-opening thing for me that some other people who might be listening could benefit from?
Oh, there's a lot. Like I was telling you from, when that entrepreneurs organization group, I learned about Upworks and being able to outsource bookkeeping, or being able to outsource certain things from, like $10 a month for people. These guys that over in India and Indonesia, they have MBAs and they're wanting work, and it's virtual, but it's like, it's a culture shift, but it's awesome. Or, just having that realization I was telling you about, that it's okay as a visionary I used to feel bad and guilty that I kept getting distracted. Oh, there's a shiny new toy. Oh, I want to go do that one. But that's just who I am. And so having the need for someone to ground me, to say, hey, here's where you need to focus on, and then, I just learned this, like, overused, but, if you look at most successful people, and they, other than if they got lucky or if they were handed a check, or, but anyone who's earned it or done with themselves, if you go to their house, the one thing they have in common is they have a library. They have books, and they're reading, and they're constantly trying to figure out how to take the next step. And so that's always been big with me, trying to stay up and read and figure out how to read more, whether it's audio books or whatnot, but just always trying to read.
Yeah. And lifelong learning is one of those things that it's really important, especially when you're referral partners with somebody. If I know you're constantly trying to make yourself better, I just know you're going to get better and better. So if you're good now, you're going to continue to get it really good as well.
Right.
I've been trying. So I tend to be like this compulsive serial, like I just constantly like bring in information. And I thought, I'm going to detox. I'm not going to do any for a while. And it's like, the minute I say that, like, the best content starts coming across my desk. So like you were saying with your entrepreneurs organization, traction with the book where that comes from is a great one. And then I was like, I'm just going to focus on traction for now. I'm just going to focus on that for now. And, you know, and implement that. And then I found another one yesterday. So it's, you know,
Well,
it's
what is
constant.
it?
You know, it's really funny. I'm gonna have to text you because I don't remember. I'll put it in the comments. I'll put it in the comments because I can't remember what it is. But it's basically I want to say it's how to never lose a customer.
Okay.
How
Well,
crazy is that?
I will
Good name of
suggest
a
a book.
right?
Yeah. I
So
suggest
how
a
do you
book too.
onboard your customers in the first 100 days? Whether it's
Oh.
whether it's a coffee shop or it is like big sales, like what do you do in the first 100 days to make them, to lock them in? I'm only in like chapter 2, but it is really, really good so far. So anyway, so there's a little tip for you.
My favorite book right now, and I could read it over and over again, is called Rejection Proof. So if you haven't read that one, it's fantastic. But it's called Rejection Proof.
And why did you like Rejection Proof?
Still there?
I'm still here. Yeah. So why did you like Rejection Proof?
Okay. Oh, because it's basically when you read it, it's the whole concept is it tells you it's about a guy who came up with an idea and he was told it's a stupid idea and so he should ignore it, and so he did, and then someone else came up with that idea and is now a billionaire, and so he said what happened. So he looks at the psychology of rejection and what did it to him, and he does a YouTube channel and he challenges it. He does 100 experiences where he intentionally is trying to get someone to tell him no, to reject him. From going into Krispy Kreme and instead of ordering a dozen donuts, he wants a dozen donuts shaped in the Olympic rings. Obnoxious stuff. So he can get his mind used to being told no. But what he realizes is that most people want to tell you yes. They don't like saying no. They hate it. So we just have to ask. We're embarrassed to ask, or we're prideful to ask. So anyway, it goes through the whole book, and it's super easy to read, but it changes your mindset of, you know, we are designed not to want to get rejected. You know, back in, he even talks about caveman days, you know, people didn't want to do anything stupid and get rejected because you didn't want to be kicked out of the group, because if you were isolated, you were going to get eaten, you know. So we are subconsciously always trying to feel accepted and hate being rejected. And so you have to overcome that. It's like training a muscle. You have to just be told no a bunch. And so you learn, it's not a big deal.
Well, and another good book on that same topic is Believe It. And it's very simple. Like, now she didn't do it for fun and try and figure it out, but Believe It is about basically the birth and the creation of It Cosmetics, which she sold for $1.2 billion. And she had such an opportunity. She got so many no's. Now, she said that every one of them hurt, but she got so many no's that she was fine with getting them at some point. And I always thought, I wish I had gone into sales earlier in my career, because I think I would have felt more callous and better about getting those, which would make now easier if I had. So yeah. So what is something that you would love our listeners to hear that we haven't covered yet today? Just anything to wrap it up.
No, I mean, just again, you know, just to go over what we said, be nice, you know, if you're a restaurant, definitely give it a try. Come visit. You can come visit our group. I don't care. I'll show you. You know, and then really, like we were talking about the other day, just the awareness of what is going on in the industry. So like having that compassion when you go out to eat. You know, like yesterday, you know, we had one server, and so plus me, and so I was delivering a catering order, and you know, she had 10 tables come in at one time, and it's one of those where there's really nothing you can do about it. So she just explained, hey, he's on his way back. Most people were really, really cool about it. But, you know, every once in a while you get somebody and then they write a review. Hey, they need more people. And I think those people writing reviews, they just aren't aware that it's a problem. And so when you go into your restaurant, you know, like, again, it makes the biggest thing, you know, tip a little extra because, you know, money's kind of tight, you know, tip a little extra, you know, smile and just be like, hey, I understand. Even if you don't tip extra, just saying, hey, I get it. We're good, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like we were joking about, if at all possible, go out to eat. Don't order off DoorDash, Waiter,
Yes.
any of the delivery services, because like I was telling you earlier, you know, that 6 to 11% margin, those guys take 30. And they're a means to an end, and you have to have them, but restaurants sometimes lose money. Rarely ever will they make money with those, but they sometimes even lose it. So if you have the opportunity, just order it, go pick it up. Hire your high school or college neighbor.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll give you $5 if you go pick this up for me, and pay them a little money instead of using those services.
Love that idea. Love that idea. Well, thank you so much, Hal. One, thank you for being such an awesome BNI member for so long. Like I said, I love that you came back. So thank you for that. And thank you for being on the show. You gave me a whole new perspective on restaurants and what I can do to just be a little bit more positive and supportive as all the restaurants are going through similar things these days.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun. I enjoy it. All right.
Yeah. Excellent. So next week is going to be super fun. We're going to have Kevin Taylor. I full on expect to be roasted just a little bit by Kevin next week, but he is a fitness trainer who is going to be talking to us about how we can use accountability to even be better in our lives and in our worlds as well, because he is the master of accountability when it comes to exercise and working out. With that, I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week.